Flamin, how are we, mate?
Yes, all good, all good. Yeah, just wanted to do this, Tanbir, just to give the people watching and listening just a bit of a run through in terms of like, you know, our time kind of
Hmm.
working together, but also just kind of a bit more on yourself and your story, just because I think your story is a very powerful one, and I think like looking back when I was coaching, I think it'd be quite useful for people to hear the
Yeah,
behind the scenes and stuff.
yeah, definitely. Because we've been working for a while now. I think for almost 12 months. I think I started with you in March 2022, and I think this was back of I saw a few coaches using you. I think it was Reese. I think it was one of them. And just off the back of that, I reached out, did our Zoom call, and yeah, from there it's literally been a beautiful, beautiful friendship.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think, yeah, I still remember like how much it's still the same with the Zoom call and stuff. It was like not planned. It was just like here's how things are, and then yeah, we just took it from there, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
because you were starting out back then, wasn't it? Around about early 2022.
Yeah, exactly that. I think it was just like it wasn't like a thing that I planned massively. Like I think, anything else like I usually put like a lot more planning into it, and this was just like I'll just do a little bit of it, and then it just
Mm.
kind of transitioned.
It blossomed, as
Yeah,
you would say.
yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't looked back. We've been together for like almost 12 months now, and probably I've had other VAs in the past, and out of all of them, not to toot your horn, but you've probably been the best out of all of them, bro. I'm not gonna lie,
Amazing.
literally. The one thing I like about you the most is the fact that you're able to mimic the coach's voice, right? And not a lot of VAs can do that. They don't have that personal touch that you have. So honestly, since then, that's the main reason I've stayed along.
Cool, epic. No, I'd really appreciate it. And I think like I was just gonna like really quickly touch on this, but I think it's like one of the things is just now, and I think for the other coaches, is we try and kind of go through like a lot of your content anyway. So like we
Yeah,
try and watch a lot of your stuff, so it gives us an idea in terms of what you do, who you are. So it's a bit easier to like when people mention stuff, it's a bit easier to
yeah.
go in a direction that's true to you as opposed to like guessing or like making it up or like sounding too robotic, I suppose. Um,
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think you do binge watch some of my content. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I suppose like what was it like? Um, I suppose just a quick one on that. Like just again, just to better and give the people like an understanding of when we first started working together. Like where were you at with your business, with your I suppose like schedule, lifestyle, that kind of stuff? What was it that kind of the full process behind like reaching out again and just giving it another go with like VA and booking calls and that side of things?
That's a good question. Now, when I first initially reached out, it was off the back of an experience of a previous VA. I don't think she was hitting the target she was meant to, and as a result, I was just reviewing it. I was looking over. I thought, you know what, something needs to change. So I met someone through my mentorship, collective coaching, Julian, in fact, and he's the one who referred me on to you and said, you know what, plumbing's really good. Um, and from the back of that referral, because I trusted him, I just went with my gut and I went with plumbing and I booked in that call. But in all honesty, bro, I was doing coaching full time, and I thought to myself, like being in DMs, etc. I need to get some of my time back. So rather than working in the business, I wanted to work on the business. So where making like a members area, giving back value to my clients, making content, the stuff that pushes the needle forward. That's what I wanted to do, and I thought, you know what, let's get someone I can trust. And that's when I thought, you know what, let's hire a VA. Let's get someone that time back.
Perfect. And I think it's one of those as well. I think that from a mindset standpoint, to me, it sounds like it's a much more powerful process anyway. Looking
Yep.
back over the year, going into it with like I want to free up my time, as opposed to I've no idea what's working. Let me get someone on board
Mm-hmm.
to fix. Like I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it's a much more powerful process when this system I have is working really, really well. I just need to free up my time, and then when you free up your time, everything else just skyrockets. But I think if you go into like getting someone on board with the expectation that there's going to be set calls and stuff,
Mm.
it can not work if it's not happening already, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if a coach isn't booking in calls, there's obviously it's not gonna the VA is not gonna be able to solve that problem. If they got calls already coming in, like a nice flow, but let's say they want to bring back some time or they want to scale up in that sense. If a coach is earning 2 to 3K, right, they're getting calls booked in, I'd go for a VA. But if they're at zero right now, I'm not too sure with a VA. This might be just something where they get their systems in place, they get some clients, they get some good traction going on, lead gen, and then possibly look into booking a VA. But I'd say if you're earning 2 to 3K per month online, maybe more, definitely look into a VA. I think that's what I did, and literally my revenue's gone up.
Yeah, and I think like I don't know how it is on your side, but I definitely agree. Looking back on when I was coaching and stuff, I think that's quite a nice sweet spot because you're kind of like around 2 to 3K per month. It's not like a huge it's a big amount of money, like a big investment, but it's not like it still means that you get like a return on it right away.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest.
That's one thing I liked when the return on investment was huge with you.
Okay.
It really was. I think most videos are what £500 plus, right? You was a really good one just because you understood the coaching process. Nowadays, you find VAs that haven't coached; they're just general. They might be from Thailand, overseas, or they might just be appointment setters. But a VA that understands the coaching process and has been through an online coaching program is a game changer. Which technically you have, and you're a coach yourself. You was previously, and that's one thing that attracted me to your business, right? It's almost like being there, done that, and it just gives them. It's almost like you don't have to train them as much.
Yeah.
per se.
And I think that generally makes it a lot easier as well, like not having to worry as well. Like if you like,
Yeah.
you're trying to buy back your time, but you're spending that time like worrying about the service, like what's actually being done, or how well. And it's like the same now with the people on board, like team members and stuff. Everyone are kind of have had fitness be quite a pivotal part in their life, which I think just makes the commitment on them and the vision for us like much bigger because we're on the journey of connecting as many people as possible, like as many kind of clients with coaches as possible. And then that only happens when it's that kind of understanding of fitness, I think, and how serious and how important it can be. So I think that generally
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier.
Because looking at the bigger picture, Plamen, right, you're helping to actually change more lives. Because we're actually sending out more messages, right, we're engaging with more people and we're able to get them on a coaching program that they might need, right? There's a lot of my clients that said to me, Tanbir, if I didn't find you, right, I would have been on medication, I would have gone for Slimming World, I would have gone for like these fad diets. If you didn't reach out and be persistent, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Plamen. Plamen just being consistent, following up. It's mad, man.
Yeah.
Literally, you're changing lives, and it's like you're part of a bigger picture, part of the ecosystem that you probably don't realize. It's very refreshing, bro. It really is.
Yeah, I think it's all down to like your stuff. That like it's down to your content, people liking it, and it's like it gives us a flow to work back off. Cool, perfect. So what was it you were kind of doing like beforehand in terms of what did your kind of like day, I suppose your day-to-day structure, that could be a cool little insight maybe, like what does your day-to-day structure look like? What did it look like maybe when beforehand, like February time last year as opposed to it is now? Like is it massively different? Is there like big takeaways in terms of where you're spending your time now as opposed to where you were then, from a coaching standpoint and maybe as a business owner?
Yeah, good question. In all honesty, bro, I didn't have much structure before I hired a VA, and it's quite hard to say because once you're doing everything yourself, you're trying to juggle everything, right? Which might be making content, lead gen, following up, and client fulfillment. So when it comes to coaching, I look at the big three. So making content being one of them, lead gen, so trying to do the VA stuff myself, reaching out to people, making conversation, and number three is going to be client fulfillment, so getting them results, responding to messages. There wasn't much structure, bro. That's the funny thing. As looking back at it, I was literally like a headless chicken walking about, thinking do this, do that, and it's almost like once you take one stress away, right? Once you give someone else like some responsibility, you can actually focus on the other two, that the big money makers, like making content and actually getting client results, so you can post their transformation. I think just hiring you has allowed me to actually have a lot more structure because you're always on the ball. You're messaging me, Tanbir, what can I improve? This is how many messages sent out. This is how many responses, and these are the hot leads. Let's look at them, and that's brought a lot of like warmer leads and a lot more like moving the business forward. Just because you give me that structure, I'm more organized now.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of those. I think it's quite easy. It's like good. It's really good that it's kind of quite simple, simplified in terms of a coach listening to this. There's the three big things for them to do and prioritize, and in terms of maybe the structure element of it now, kind of, how do you structure the other two now? Is it kind of like consistently, like is it Monday to Friday, is to kind of like doing set amount of tasks? How would you go about, what's the kind of like efficient structure and schedule? And again, going in a slightly different direction, but just a question that
I do like to break it down to those three, but the other two that you mentioned, content wise, in all honesty, because I've been doing it for a while now, 2 to 3 years with Asian Body Coach, right? In all honesty, bro, I do it on a daily basis. I know it's bad. But I'll probably make the content on a daily basis. Whereas there are some weeks where I might just batch create it 7 days in advance, so that way I don't have to worry about it. And in all honesty, that's probably something I should be doing. Batch creating it, so that way it's less stressful. You just post it out, and then you can worry about other things like client fulfillment, lead gen, for example. But in all honesty, right now, to answer your question, content's probably like the day before or on the same day. Just something that comes to my head.
it's quite easy to get ideas, isn't it? Sometimes like on
When you've been doing this for a while, yes. But if someone's new to this, probably like 1 year or less, I definitely recommend batch creating it. Or something can pop up like, I don't know, if you're working a 9 to 5 job, right? You might not finish at 5 p.m. to post that video, etc. So just having it done, ready made the day before, just post it. Just press the post button. Because I did come back from a corporate, I did come off from a corporate background. I used to work in accountancy before I started Asian Body Coach, and that was really hard. And I think if I had a VA then, it would have helped a lot. Just the fact that I don't always have to be on my phone doing lead gen, etc. That would have helped with the time, and actually allowed me to leave my job a lot sooner, just because of the time I got back.
cool. How long was you in accounting before, or how long was you? Yeah, how long was you in accounting before deciding I'll go full time?
5 years. 5 years, right? Hopefully, I'm not showing my age too much, but yeah, 5 years. I really enjoyed it, but then I started Asian Body Coach in 2020, I believe, February 2020. Went for just started posting regularly, doing the normal stuff like topless photos, showing my abs, and it wasn't getting anywhere, right? It was in its infancy, so that's when I came across Steve. He wasn't called Collective Coaching then, just called Steve McGrath, GR8, and I took on board him as a mentor, and he was actually the person that actually recommended, let's call it Asian Body Coach, man. I'm not gonna say it's my idea. If anything, he helped me brand it. He found a niche that I liked. I like eating curry. I'm Asian myself. I like the cultural stuff, the dancing, the Bollywood dancing. And he said, "Why do you go for that, man? Lose weight, eat curry, etc." It's even like I got a T-shirt. I'm not if you saw it, but at the back it says "Get hen cheek curry," and that was his idea, literally. So I owe it to him, man. I really do.
Did you find it like? Did you find it easier once you had that idea in place in terms of like this is just the people I speak to now kind of thing?
Yeah, because what Steve did, he planted the seed, and once you have that seed planted, it knows like it grows into one direction, right? No pun intended, but but once you know your niche, right, you can make like a client avatar. So one thing I did was I got Aisha and I got Imran, right? What's Aisha's struggle, right? She's probably been on Slimming World. She cuts out her curry, thinks she needs to cut out her carbs, her favorite foods, and literally I make content based on those two avatars. Just because once you got your niche, you got your avatars, and you just think about their constant problems, right? Makes life a lot easier, especially making content. You just think about the content that they would need, or even for me, content that the younger version of Tanbir needs, right? Because I've been through the coaching process before, online coaching, 2019, 2018, And I had like a traditional bodybuilding coach. He was great. He was amazing. It's just there wasn't much leeway, right? And it's I find coaching right now, online coaching, online fitness coaching, it's moving slightly away from the bodybuilding type. It's slightly a little bit more to like lifestyle and being a bit more balanced, going out with family, going out with friends, and still getting lean. So I wanted to create something towards that, but more towards niching down to Asians, which they struggle with, like eating curry, cultural food, dawats, weddings, all this stuff. Because Asians are very big food lovers. You probably know that from the DMs.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And I think it's quite funny actually. You mentioned like the two people, Aisha and Ibrahim.
Imran.
Imran. You mentioned those two guys, and I was thinking these people come up a lot. Like maybe we'll definitely not the same names, but they come up a lot in terms of your conversations, and that's what I suppose they're the ones that resonate. The other people that doesn't resonate, like we'll find someone else that they resonate with, but it just makes your life and your content, I imagine, a lot easier.
Yeah. When I see those names on the DM list, I think, you know what, that's how close are they to the client avatar? Let me just ask a few questions.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's very interesting how close their struggles are to what I got down on paper, on Word doc. Their struggles, what they think, what they buy, everything. I'm meticulous. Once you have that set down, and I've got Steve to thank for that, it makes conversation much easier and making content easier. That's probably the reason why I create content the day before on the same day. It just comes to mind.
Yeah, epic. How do you find it in terms of like? I think that's something I need. I've been meaning to say, by the way. Like, I just think your like content, your ability to almost like just block out everyone else and just create content for those two people is really powerful.
Yeah.
Whereas I know other coaches and I know myself, like it's quite easy to just look at what this coach is doing, and try and like,
Copy.
yeah, try and copy, or like try not to be judged and just do like the same stuff as they would do, if you know what I mean. So they're not wrong. They'll just do, instead of like, here's how to factor curry into your diet, it might be, here's why calorie, like stuff that are scientifically correct, which is amazing, but it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't resonate with anyone.
Yeah. I know what you mean. A lot of coaches might copy from other coaches thinking that's relevant. That's exactly what my clients need. That's a good one you actually picked up on, because I speak to a lot of coaches in the mentorship and like even day to day, they struggle with that. And one thing I do personally to fix that is I go to my stories, I scroll up, I make content for the people that look at my stories.
Okay.
Literally, they're the ones who's gonna see your content, because Instagram, whenever you post something, usually those are the things that go to people that follow you. The 20% of people that follow you, it will get shown to them. And most likely it's going to be shown to the people that see your stories constantly, like your posts. I make it for them because I just really want to help them. And I know if they're engaging, if they're showing support, I want to show love back.
Perfect. Has there been like, I suppose from a content standpoint, like how have you found it transitioning from the other side of it that you mentioned, the topless pictures and the more general stuff, in towards the Asian body coach?
Yeah, actually sitting back and putting time and effort into my content, and I'll say the biggest thing, Flamin, just giving out value, man. I know it sounds very cliche, but giving out value, once you give out to the world, you receive probably 5 times, 10 times back. Like, you can't go wrong with giving out value, because content is actually the first thing in terms of like the sales funnel. So if you give out good content, right, people engage with it, people like it, you'll actually get that good response feedback back. So the posts that tend to do well are the ones that give out the most value. So for me, it might be how to track curry into MyFitnessPal, or lowest calorie curry options, or eating out with curry in a restaurant like Dishroom, Madu's. There's so many out there. It's just giving out value. Once you give out value, you can't go wrong. It's as cliche as it sounds, it's probably the best thing that can help with an engaging audience.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's one of those as well, like it's just so much easier, isn't it? Like once you
Mm-hmm.
put something out there, people like save it, like it. But it's almost like they start to know you a bit more, and they start to know what you stand for, and they're like, this person's actually helping me, like, as opposed to, and I think sometimes it's just not getting caught up in the mindset of like, I can't give away too much, because I know coaches do that sometimes. I can't give away too much because they don't want to work with me. It's like personal trainers on the gym floor. I remember that as well.
Yeah, the thing is, I disagree with that point, man. The fact
Yeah,
that I don't want to give
definitely.
out too much, etc. Like, you want to help the world, right? And if people see, like, if a customer like Aisha or Imran see, like, you know what, he's got really good content. What could his one-to-one coaching be like, right? If you can give your best advice out there, and let's say they lose 1 kilos, 5 kilos, and they benefit from that, they're more likely to sign on, man. You're showing your best version of yourself. And I did this in Jan before I joined you, and you just reminded me. I did like I think it was a 10-day challenge, a 10-day lose weight, eat curry challenge. I was giving out my best advice, how to track calories with curry, steps, activity. And all I wanted to do, I just wanted everyone to lose like 1 to 2 kilos. The fact I was using my best like tactics with curry, etc., with South Asians, my best tactics out there, I think probably 60-70% minimum lost around 1 to 2 kilos in like 7 to 10 days, which I was surprised. And I think 3 converted over to the one-to-one. I was just so happy. I was just happy that they lost weight. That's all I wanted. I really did. And
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I think, how does it sound to you? To me, it feels like if a coach gets into it just off the idea of, seeing like people, like seeing like screenshots or testimonials of people making set amount of money per month, if they get into it with that intention, it's probably not what, or trying to give away. That's probably where maybe that mindset comes in of not giving too much, and that's probably where it kind of falls apart. But having that care like you do, having that kind of real high level care
yeah,
about the person on the other end, I just think
I
they
think
see it back.
yeah, that's a good point. I think the money is a good side effect, but we have to be in coaching, right, for the right reasons, right? Like the money can't always like keep you motivated. It's a good motivator, don't get me wrong, but the fact where let's say you're having a bad day, like I was probably like last week, just having a message from a client saying, Tanbir, I hit my newest low weight in of 106. I went out to eat the other day, etc. Still lost weight on the plan, still enjoying it, and I feel happy. I just feel like this has never happened before, and I just feel ecstatic. And her sending me that makes me feel ecstatic. It raises my me. I think, you know what? Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. You're changing lives, and I don't think people realize where, like a lot of mine, some of my clients might have diabetes or cholesterol, and they've gone for a blood test recently with the doctors. The doctors are telling them, look, like, well, you're coming out of the diabetes range. We might not need to take like metformin or all these tablets anymore. Like the fact you reduce your body fat significantly, your diabetes has improved. I'm like, you know what? I'm helping people live longer. Like, forget the money, man. This is like impactful, right? And it gives the coach a purpose in life. Like you're improving lives, you're getting people results. There's another like element where you actually feel like, you know what? This is good. I get addicted to it. Let's get results. Let's get more results.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like you mentioned. I think it's just that's so powerful, isn't it? Like in terms of just like not looking at. Yeah, I think it's a weird one as well. I think you can only get. I don't know how people would do it, but I don't know how you can only get like if you're just looking at the money, you can only get excited to a certain. But it doesn't really wake you up in the morning knowing you could drive a nicer car or something like that. I don't think it.
Yeah. As more times has gone on, the money I've looked at differently now. In the sense that I use it as a tool in the coaching. Most of the money I earned from Asian Body Coach, I put it back into the business. In honesty, I'm not really a flashy guy. Literally, you can see I'm wearing Adidas, Adidas tracksuits and a t-shirt from H&M. I'd rather put that money to good use and reinvest it into business. And I think you do that a lot as well, which I admire about you. Reinvesting in business has given me like tenfold in terms of more clients, more stuff I can do, and a lot more accessibility, things that I didn't have, like mentorship, even websites as well, and just making it easier for my clients to see results.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. I think it's one of those as well. Like, yeah, I think I don't know how people find it, but I think my mindset on business in general, or small businesses is
Yeah.
like slightly different in terms of like people. I think on the outside you can look at the profit and think this guy must be making so much money. This is the profit, but realistically, it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you just want to like put it back in. And I think, um, I don't know, it sounds you're quite similar with this when it comes to the money aspect, but to me, it's like recently anyway, in the last year, the money aspect has gone from like, if the money is just an indicator of how much value I feel you're giving to people. Like if you give a lot of value to people, at some point in the future, some way or form, you'd be rewarded for that.
Mm.
But otherwise, like, you know, if you're just looking at chasing that, you're probably going to take shortcuts right away. Gone very mindset, money mindset related, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that side.
Give out the value, and the money will follow, right? If you, as long as we're not chasing the money, we're chasing value and helping as much people as possible. Like you said, I think that's big, man. I like how you worded it. I think you worded it better than me, to be honest.
I think it was just like, yeah, it's basically like exactly kind of what you said. I just think, yeah, I was thinking that as well. I think the more kind of like, the more you can give out value, it's just an indicator. I think like money is an indicator of how much value I think you're giving to people. Maybe not, but like I feel like if you look at, you know, someone that's, you know, Jeff Bezos, he's impacting all these lives like that, like over the years. So like obviously it would be, I don't know, maybe there's like flaws in that logic, but
Yeah.
it's a powerful one. So I suppose one I had in mind, like a little bit for a question for you is like, was there ever like this kind of, maybe getting into it at some point, was there ever this kind of thing of like, you know, is coaching a thing that I can do? Like, is running my own thing and doing my own thing ever a viable route? Like, was there kind of like a mindset block, or maybe the mindset block was like when you got into it, pushing past doing all things yourself to bringing people on board? Like, was there anything like that at all, that was holding you back, or that's something that you had to work for at some point? Like, because going from the accountancy job to that, I can imagine, anyway, from my Bulgarian kind of background, there'd be a bit, if I was in that position, there'd be a bit of pushback, maybe from, you know, family and
Yeah, when I first started Asian Body Coach, my parents were against it. They said, stick to the accountancy job, man. It's secure, you're getting monthly income. Don't bother with this. And my mum was against it. Dad was on the fence. It was really hard just because I started it during COVID time, and I was spending more time with my parents, obviously in lockdown at home. And something literally just clicked in my head, and I thought, you know what? Like, when I do something, I'm going to go full throttle. And what started happening was, like you mentioned, with the value thing, I just thought, let's make an Instagram page. I'm into fitness. I like going gym. Let's start sharing some stuff. Because you had a lot of spare time. Like, you could imagine in lockdown, we had a lot of spare time. I thought to myself, am I going to watch Netflix? Am I going to do, like, jacket, like literally nothing, playing COD, etc., doing that? Or am I going to make a business during this time? And someone, can't remember which influence it was, he was saying that you're going to look back at this time and your kids are going to ask you, what did you do during lockdown? What did you do? And hopefully, fingers crossed, Asian Body Coach survives for another couple of years. 10 more years, I'm able to tell my children, you know what, I built a business, right? I was able to leave my job, and it's still thriving, right? It was probably the hardest point of creating one. Although going online at that time, people wanted motivation, and I just made value, pop that value, pop that value, pop the values. Then, from the analogy that you gave, the clients came, and I was really happy. People were seeing results. Lose weight, Curry was literally lifting off, and I was just ecstatic. Really was.
perfect. Would you say to me then, it sounds like the Asian body coach was more like, there wasn't this kind of big plan in place of, here's where I want this to be in the next 10 years. It was more like, let me just do the next steps now. Let's just kind of get it somewhere, and then, you know, let me just post some content and just see if people like it. And it was kind of that gradual process.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head
Okay.
on there. Literally, gained a lot of attraction during that time. Obviously, people were still at home. They were in lockdown. They were just liking the post. They needed some motivation. I was just literally just getting my feet wet. That's all it was, and I'm glad it worked out. I wasn't thinking like this big plan is gonna thrive off, etc. I thought, you know what, let's just go for it. Let's help some people and see where it goes. Really.
Yeah, amazing. I think that's so powerful in terms of maybe just not. It can make it like a lot simpler, can't it? Like not thinking I need to have it all figured out like right away. Just what's the next step and how can I work towards that. And I think
Yeah,
get one bit of content out and then see what can be better for the next one, and then move it along from there, like you're doing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think thinking about it not too much and not faffing around with a business plan like some people do. See if like you're viable for this. See if you enjoy it. Because one thing I was doing like a day in the life of technically of an online coach, right? Day to day working at accountancy job, doing online coach at the part time. I think I was doing it 3 4 hours a day, and I was really enjoying it. I was really liking it. Just because I wasn't wasting time, literally just going on the deep end, making content, talking to people in the DMs, and seeing if they'll be interested in coaching. Right then, Steve came in after and he helped clean that up a little bit, which I'm quite grateful for. But yeah, I'd say if anyone is on the fence of starting becoming an online coach, like the demand is there. Like you see how many online coaches are about. Don't be scared about it, because if anything, that might be actual validation, demand validation that people need the help. People are there to actually get like an online coach compared to a PT who might just be there with them for like 1 to 2 hours a week. They want someone there that's gonna give them WhatsApp support, someone that's gonna be there, hold them accountable, photo shoot ready, etc. Get them ready for a holiday, wedding. Right, the demand is there, and I think if you're on the fence of becoming an online coach, see if it works out first. Try it for a week or two. Start posting and seeing if people like your content. You can go somewhere. You never know.
yeah, but I think the way you worded it as well is just so powerful in terms of like, there's no like, like I think for coaching anyway, I think maybe initially, like you say, just what are the kind of things I can do, like, and I think you've done it really well, like right off the bat in terms of like not having the business cards, not having like the website. I think
Mm,
those are the kind of things people spend a lot of time, like adverts, for example,
yeah,
doing adverts when you're not doing like doing Facebook ads when you're not doing anything. It's
yeah,
probably not very like productive. Like you can put a lead magnet or however to a Facebook ad, but
yeah,
if you're not doing anything,
yeah. Because I remember when I first started, I didn't have a website. I didn't have a lead magnet. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. I just wanted to see if the demand was there and people, if I actually enjoyed doing it,
yeah,
right? Which I think is a big thing. People miss that out. Like, see if you enjoy it first, because you got to do it for another 2 to 3 years, right? I want to be enjoying
yeah,
it at least for 50% of the time, minimum.
yeah. I think it's yeah. I think that makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? It's just much easier to kind of test really quickly and then adjust if you need to, as opposed to like yeah, as opposed to maybe jumping in feet first. You know, you
Mm,
do like you do a little bit, you get a couple clients, and you just like I'll go full all in on this. I think the way you did it was just like gradual, kind of bit by bit, step by step.
yeah, for sure. Because the barrier to entry is quite low for online coaching. As long as you got the P2 qualification, etc., you got some experience, right? You can take it online if you want to. You just need to get the qualification done. The entry to barrier isn't that bad, right? Which can be a bad thing because you do get some rubbish coaches as well. I've met quite a few over the years, but yeah, yeah, as long as they improve, that's the main thing. And as long as you're not doing anything illegal, anything wrong, right, go for it, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. Like as long as it like kind of like it should hopefully filter out, but you just hope that
Mm,
the people that it filters out to is fast enough. Like because if only like the people getting coached by them are really not happy, and it's like they're not sharing it, and it becomes like it doesn't.
mm,
They're still coached, but I always find like as well like there's only so much you can get people. You can get people on board. You can get more clients a lot quicker by delivering like a really good service to a few, and then they
mm,
refer people on as opposed to.
yeah.
Um, so I know you mentioned kind of like messages and DMs and stuff that you were doing in the content. Um, was there like a big thing you like? I know you mentioned with Steve as well and tidying this up, but was there anything in particular looking back on it, you're like this was so stupid like that I was doing like was there anything that you felt like you looking back on it you're like doing and you're like this is kind of stupid that I was doing that. I think for me it probably would be like trying to systemize everything and perfect it like way too early as opposed to just putting it out there.
Mm. I think a lot of people that probably struggle with this, you might be similar, I'm not sure, but falling down the Instagram rabbit hole, right? Looking at it as pleasure rather than an actual business, right? And doing like timetabled hours, literally like DMs have to be done at 5 p.m. every single day, regardless. Looking at a business rather than an actual like social media platform. And I wasted so much time scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through Instagram, and it affects your mental health. Because you got to remember, this is a social media platform, isn't it? And it can be a bad thing at the same time as a good thing, inspiration. Like, although one end I'm making money off of social media, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's amazing. But that same end, I'm spending more time on social media. It affects your mental health, right? You look at other coaches, you look at other things, you fall down the Instagram rabbit hole. One thing I do wish I did have was just having timetabled hours, right? Just knowing what time I'm doing this, etc. Limit, maybe have like a 20-minute scroll through session where I'm doing whatever I like, but having timetable hours for sure. It did mess me up, especially during COVID, when all you have is your phone, you know, you have to see your friends, you're social distancing, right? You're spending more time on social media. That's one thing I do regret. Really do.
Yeah, there's a couple things on that. I think the first is like, I think the Instagram rabbit hole is like, it's such a thing because like it is so easy to just look at. And I think for me personally, it's more the stories you create around the stuff you see as opposed to a bit of content. So you might see like an online coach sharing a before and after of a client. In the back of your head, you're thinking, this guy must be so much better than me. He's working with so many more clients. His results are so much better. But in reality, it's just a before and after picture and someone doing well. Like you've got the same thing, but in the back of your head, you can just feel like everyone are doing so much better. You never see.
Agree with the rabbit hole. And I think with that is self-comparison is definitely the thief of joy. And that confirms that. It really does. Because looking at other people, seeing how well they're doing, you can compare it to the gym or you can compare it to something else, right? Like comparing yourself to like a 300-pound bodybuilder or like a male physique model, right? They're on a different level. They're on a different like stage in their life, right? And people forget that with social media, like wherever you're looking at, he might be literally 5 years of posting. It might have taken him 5 years to get where he is, right? Of like starting, stopping, trial and error to actually get his niche right, get this right. And you're comparing your level 1 to his level 50.
Yeah,
We
but
forget that.
but that's the thing as well. Like on your work, but I don't know when on one of your like lower days business wise. I don't know if you're the same, but like I kind of maybe sometimes get these days where like if I just feel like everything's collapsing and or I'm having like a bad day for a reason. On that day, the last thing you want to do is just post about it or share it. So you're not seeing people's like mini meltdowns or bad days, especially for business. Anyway, I suppose physique is.
I agree. Everyone sees the top of the iceberg. They never see what's beneath it, under the waters. I do agree with that. I definitely do, and I do relate to that. It's interesting, but I say to people, you can't have the good and the bad, right? Just like the yin and the yang, you won't be able to see the black without the white, right? It wouldn't exist. You need to have like the good and the bad, and I think you grow as a person. Because one thing I've done is I've learned from my bad days. Like, what can I do about it? Probably spend less time on social media. Probably fill it with something more productive, or maybe just go for a spa. Right? If I'm doing something, I'm not going to be scrolling on TikTok or scrolling through Instagram. The good and the bad. You can't have the good without the bad, or the bad without the good. And I like that analogy with the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's insane in terms of like just being able to have that. I think that the balance between the two, like how do you, I suppose, how do you like now? Do you like are you more just tunneled in on towards like Instagram is just like I'll post my content, I'll respond to my DMs, and then I'll just leave Instagram, or do you still spend? How do you like strike the balance now? I suppose.
Usually I do around 4 hours a day
Okay.
on the business, I'd say. And I split that up between like DMs, etc., posting content and engaging with clients, making sure they're on the ball because I'm literally on the ball with them every single day. Um, it's a hard one because usually I don't finish until I'm done. Some days I might finish at 9 p.m., some days I might finish at 10 p.m. But with regards to striking a balance, it's hard. I never really believed in balance, man. I never really believed it. I'll just finish
Yeah.
once I'm done. Like, you're not gonna finish a workout thinking, "Oh, I've done 10 sets on the program," but I feel like I've got a bit more in me, right? Maybe I should go on the treadmill. Maybe do a couple extra sets for my shoulders, my triceps. You finish once you're done. I don't believe in balance, man. I believe in taking time off, but having balance, that's personal, right? It's subjective. You can do more work than someone else. Someone might have more tenacity than you. You might have more tenacity than them. I'd say finish once you're done, and then when you go home, rest your head on the pillow. You you're gonna feel accomplished. You feel like, you know what, I smashed it today. Man. Now I can have a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I think that's quite cool. Though I think we're quite similar in that sense in terms of just like pushing ourselves in terms of getting as much done as we can.
Mm.
Hopefully I'm similar, but like in terms of just getting as much done as you can and just kind of getting
Yeah,
it all done and then going from there. And I think because it sounds like it's a lot of like the love and the passion behind it, it just makes it a lot easier
yeah.
um to do. So um from an Instagram perspective, like, do you spend much time, like, just like, do you find yourself spending much time just browsing like nowadays, or do you just like, is your day quite like time blocks and packed with other stuff that's quite easy to not spend like looking at Instagram?
Usually, I just have a priority list,
Okay.
if I'm honest. So the top things that need to be done, usually on my calendar, I just follow the stuff, tasks that's time blocked out. Um, but one thing that's probably the biggest thing is I'm scrolling less, bro. I'm scrolling less. I know if the more I scroll, those tend to be my bad days. The more screen time I have, those tend to be my bad days, and I try to offset it by having a VA, by doing productive things and getting client results.
But kind of by keeping yourself busy, by ticking things off of a to-do list, it
Mm,
kind of flows.
mm,
It works a lot better, I think. By the sounds of it, it's like, you know, I find it the same in terms of maybe I would just have like a list of things to
yeah,
work through. And it's like when you do that, you just haven't got the time to spend it on like doing nothing. Like, and you always have something to do. So if you have nothing to do, for me, I don't know if you're similar, but if I have nothing to do, I just kind of like,
scroll.
yeah, or like mentally, I'm just like, what am I doing? I need to be doing something. So I don't know. It sounds like you having stuff to do and stuff. It's just much easier, like to not go and like go off and scroll and or you know.
Yeah, for sure. It gives you direction. And at the same time, you can actually review your week or your month. Like, what's the task that's been the less productive? What's the task that's been the less money effective? Right? You can always review it. And it helps with your audit too, I'd say. But I definitely have a to do list. I do agree with that. I still do it. It's old school and it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
It works.
How do you find it actually to do list wise? Because sometimes like there's just loads of things that can come up on a to do list. You know,
Mm,
people listening, coaches listening. It might be like, you know, I've got to do check-ins, I've got to do content. You know, I've got to do accounts and stuff are coming up soon. Like I've got to do my tax, I've got to
yeah,
do all of these different things, and like all of a sudden that top three you mentioned's gone from top three to like 50 things on a to do list.
yeah,
How do you then make that big list not come across as overwhelming and you just focus on
yeah. You just reminded me of something, right? I remember when I used to have like days where I had like probably 20, 30 things to do. I kid you not. Um, those were probably my toughest days. In terms of mental health wise, like running this business, like I said with the iceberg thing, people only see the peak of the iceberg. They never see what's down below, the hard days that you go through. It can be a struggle, especially if you're an online coach. You're probably indoors all day. You're not seeing anyone, etc. It can be a lonely business at times, and the struggle was real. There were times where I broke down. I'm just gonna admit it. There were times where I broke down, and those were the days I had a massive list to do, and I was like, you know what? It felt like it was life and death in a sense. Well, this is my first proper business. This is my sole income, and it means a lot to me. And me just failing sometimes it just means it's not good enough. You cannot fail. And I've learned sometimes to actually take that step back and focus on like a priority. So like you mentioned on the to-do list, sometimes even top three. What's three things I can do today that matter the most that just need to be done? Just three things, and I'll be happy if I go upstairs to bed, or I'll go to the living room, and I'll be happy. I'll be content that the day's done. The biggest three are done. That's all I need to do. Because there were days where literally I felt like there were bad thoughts going through my head, like really bad thoughts, and I just don't want to experience that ever again.
Yeah, and I could
You
definitely
know what I mean?
relate. It's yeah,
It's
it's
been tough, man. It's not easy running a business. Um, there was one day I went to Creams and I just binge ate like a Kinder Bueno waffle and ordered a milkshake after because I was that stressed. And that was not a good situation to be in because there were bad thoughts running through my head. And I usually don't get those type of thoughts. I've never been on depression tablets or anything like that. But I was thinking to myself, like, wow, this is getting very overwhelming, man. I was actually considering, should I come out of coaching or not? Right? And that's before I had a VA, etc. And probably would have been a good time to actually hire one at the time. Um, but yeah, I don't want to go back to that dark place, bro. And I've learned my lesson. I really have, and I'm grateful for it. People will all realize that luckily nothing bad happened, and I learned from it. Whenever you have a bad day, I always like literally reflect on it and say, all right, I had a car crash, but luckily, those two words, but luckily I'm still alive, right? Because I did have a car crash, or like a mini accident a couple of weeks ago. But luckily, I'm alive. The car's fine. It's just a small little scratch of the thing.
yeah.
You gotta have those two words. I think those are very grateful because people always look at the bad. As humans, we're always looking at the negative stuff. But luckily, right, there's always a silver lining to something, man.
I think if you look hard enough, you can always find something to be grateful for. Like I don't know how yes, I don't know how you are, but like I just think like regardless of how bad sometimes things get, and I think this is like something I need to do better in just reminding myself with sometimes. But regardless of how bad things get, it's just for me, I always get great gratitude and just reminding myself that I'm still being able to do my own thing in a way. Like I'm still building something I love, and I'm really like there's a lot of stuff that I think that are really exciting, but it's still like a big gratitude thing for me, just having that ability to just build and create something cool and build towards. And I think that's kind of like, regardless how bad, you can always find something like that to be grateful for. And I suppose, I don't know how, I suppose you're quite similar, but I suppose you're kind of, maybe your bad days, you'd still take them over. I don't know how you found it with your career, like with the 9 to 5 and the accountancy stuff, but maybe that's still a more favorable thing now, and just being able to, I don't know how,
Yeah.
what.
Because back then the stress wasn't worth it. When you're working a 9 to 5 job, you're taking the stress of the company. So stuff like the accounting year end, deadlines that your boss has set, and you're thinking to yourself like, I'm still gonna get paid the same at the end of the month. There's no like bonuses or anything. And you think, and you start questioning, thinking like, can't be asked. I really can't. But nowadays, like, because it's your own business, it's your own baby. Any stress you go through, like, you know what, like, it is worth it, right? Like even the analogy I give, even in nature, like either you grow, you contribute, or you die. If you think about any animals, if you think about any plants, they have to contribute, otherwise they're gone. They're gone out of the ecosystem, right? And I think the biggest and the strongest ones are the ones that survive the toughest winds, right? Like the strongest trees out there are the ones that have the biggest winds around them constantly, and they survive that.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's beautiful. Like
Yeah,
these trees can survive it, and nature teaches us that, and I think we should use it for ourselves, right? As coaches, as business people, I think that is a very impactful way to actually look at life.
yeah, that's really powerful in terms of that. I've never kind of thought about that, but yeah, um, that's yeah, and I think for me personally, it'll be interesting to see your thoughts on this. But for me, like, um, I always think back and always like say to people is like I feel like the last kind of couple years of self-employed and being like doing being in some kind of a business thing has been some of the biggest for me in terms of like self-development, like without trying to have as a self-development the stress element of it, the you know the stress element of it, the communication element of it, putting myself out there, like doing stuff, confidence elements, like there's all of these different things that at times you need to work on and improve, and when you do it once, it's almost like you can take it into life, you can take it into the next thing, and you kind of keep building in it. But I don't know if you're similar, but it's just always like
Yeah.
I feel like it's just such a powerful like like personal development thing, I
So you're
suppose.
saying
Anything.
if you want to improve like exponentially very fast, open a business. 100%.
Open a bad one and just watch yourself like
I mean, even though with Asian Body Coach, it's not my first business. I did drop shipping before, a few other things, Amazon FBA. They didn't work out. And if they didn't work out, I wouldn't be here today probably talking to you about Asian Body Coach, about VA stuff. And I think you grow a lot. You really do. And I 100% agree with what you said. Like, the only way you can grow is by actually pushing outside your comfort zone. What does that? With a 9 to 5 job, timetabled hours, cozy office, chocolate on the side, biscuit side, being inside your comfort zone actually make you grow? Probably not. Maybe year on year, but compare it to a business where you're on the deep end every single day, right? You got revenue targets to, you got bills to pay, you got results to get through clients. Like, it's another league, man. I tell you that. Like, I've grown so much in the past 3 years compared to the 10 years before that, maybe.
This is where like I have like this is a question I actually had in mind as well, but this is where like I have like a massive amount of like respect and admiration for the coaching side of it and your side, because like you've got all of this stuff, you've got the stress of client fulfillment, you've got the stress of content, all of that, and then on top of that you still need to stay on top of, you know, I find it much easier staying on top of my own like training and my own like self-development when it's like, or you know, my own training, I suppose, when there's not an expectation that, or you know, there's I suppose maybe that's like the sometimes you can overthink it, maybe that's me here, but it's much easier to, you need to like post a certain thing to look a certain way, or is that more getting into comparison with everyone else?
I'd say the fact I'm an online coach or body coach, because it's part of my job. Like, staying fit is part of my job, and it's made it slightly easier. Like,
Okay.
you're accountable now, I'd say. Right? When you're a fitness coach, you gotta look the part. Like, no, even though you got gurus out there, coaches out there saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it does not." To a point, let's be honest, it does, man. You're not gonna take advice from a fat bloke or something. You're someone that's unhealthy or someone that looks like they got a double chin, right? There's just some element of thinking, you know what? How can you be giving that advice? Like, you gotta have some sort of like, you gotta be a little bit healthy. You have to look somewhat the part, although it's not 100% necessary. The fact that you run a fitness business, the fact you gotta look after yourself, I see it as a blessing, man. Two in one, two in one. And there is this analogy. Sometimes doctors can be the worst patients. Do you know what I mean by that?
Because they know, is it because they would you say it's because they know like what they need to be doing, but they
Yeah. So sometimes you can have coaches like they might be dieting on 2,000 calories, but 50% of that might be sugar, etc.
yeah.
And I fall into that part whenever I get stressed. Oh, it's leaving my calorie intake. Let's just have a few buttons. Let's just have a few Aero chocolate bars, etc. Do fall into that trap sometimes, but it's all a learning curve. It's all a learning curve, and it's part of that process of actually growing, like you said, Plamen, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, I suppose maybe it's most likely me just thinking into it, maybe too much in terms of like, you know, you need to look a certain way, but I think that's more pressure on you, isn't it, sometimes? And then that pressure is good if you dial it in the right way, but if you're not mindful of it, it can maybe not be. But I suppose that's where like not maybe putting too much stress and pressure on that, and just kind of having your habits and the routines and stuff and the accountability and just looking at it as a positive probably makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, because
So,
I know a few coaches that have training on their back of their to-do list. I do know a few, and it's quite interesting you mentioned that. But it comes with experience, bro. As you get better with the business, as you get better at managing your time, training does start to become a part of your life and supplement it. Like, if I don't look after myself, if I don't pour my own cup, I can't pour it for others, man. I can't pour it for my clients. I can't be the best version of myself. Like, you're not pouring it for anybody. You gotta pour your cup first. So nowadays, I don't even look at Instagram when I wake up in the morning for morning workouts, etc. Go to Muscle Works in Bethnal Green, shout out there. But doing your workout first, getting the hardest thing done first, everything else afterwards is easier. Hardest thing first, and everything else afterwards is easier. And I say that to my clients, so I have to follow through with that. But I'm telling them I have to walk the walk as well, as long as I'm talking the talk.
perfect. So how is it now? What's changed from the days beforehand when it came to the pressure element of it and the thoughts then to now? Like, how do you manage pressure and stress now for the longevity? Because it's like you are like a much more balanced and like much
Mm.
more balanced person now. I feel like the highs, the lows is all kind of, the Asian body coach is quite a lot more stable.
Mm.
Like, and I think that's really really cool to see. But just wonder, like, pressure, stress comes in at some point. How does that then
Mm.
not? How do you let that kind of keep you?
That's a good question. It's almost like a beginner in a gym. Like you feel overwhelmed, right? Going to the gym, eating, etc., sleeping. Things are overwhelming. You don't know where to start. But after a few months of trial and error, 6 months, etc., and you reach that point, you think, you know what, like through habit, through trial and error, things are getting better. Things are getting easier. So nowadays, things, I ain't gonna lie, it feels like for 3 or 4 hours a day, I can get the coaching done. I can get my day to day stuff done. Beforehand, it was probably taking 6 hours. I was wasting a lot of time. Nowadays, I literally just go for the stuff that gets results, making content, getting client results, messaging them, making the service better. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like I came from an online coaching background with someone else, so the fact I started this was at the back of the fact that I hated coaching back in the day. In the sense that when I was coaching with a bodybuilding coach, there was hard times. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't enjoy it, and I was having like bland chicken, bland rice, vegetables, and I was seeing results. Don't get me wrong, the check-ins were good, but I thought to myself, I'm sitting at the dining table with mum, dad, sister, brother, and I'm not having the food I'm liking. Like I can't even have the curry, the rice, etc. And I'm thinking, what is life anymore? Like I can't do this. And I think to myself, once I finish a diet with him, once I finish a coaching with him, am I actually gonna go back to bad habits, or I'm gonna adopt new ones? And honestly, I thought, you know what, it's gonna be bad habits for sure. It's not gonna be the latter. And I just stopped there, and that's when Asian Body Coach came about. I thought, let's lose weight, eat curry. There's a better way of doing this. Um, surely we could do something with it.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, and I think that, yeah. Would you say from a, like, I suppose from a stress standpoint now, then it's just more like you've done it before, you've seen it, and you realize the stuff that can kind of come up. It's just highs and lows, and you can kind of just wave it out. It's more the experience of like, this thing I know I can get through it, kind of thing.
Mm, it's a good question. It's making me think. Now, with that one, the stress aspect, nowadays I just have better coping mechanisms of actually dealing with the stress. Because now I realize the stress doesn't help. If anything, it makes things worse. It doesn't help at all. But usually, on a day to day basis, like I meditate every single day. Every single day without fail. I've probably done that ever since COVID. And that's one thing that's helped me to stay in the present moment. But whenever I stress, bro, it's probably because something that's happening in the future. The 5 calls we've got booked on in the later afternoon, are we going to close them? We're stressing about that. Now I just go with the flow, right? And with the meditation, all it does is it allows you to visualize, you know what? I'm going to be successful as long as I know that. I visualize that Tanbir in the future. I visualize that person, right? Helping people, getting results. Whether those 5 clients sign on, like they might sign on one day, but we're going to get to that end point, that visualization of that person I have, right? And this is where it comes down to self comparison. People always compare themselves because they don't feel like they're good enough, right? And one thing I've noticed is that when I don't feel like I'm good enough, number one, I'm going to overwork myself to exhaustion, right? And number two, I might reach for food when stressed because I've got this void within me. And I've become more aware of that as I've become self employed. You grow a lot faster. You've realized when you don't feel like good enough, you might compare yourself on Instagram, or you might actually overwork yourself. Those two things.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's one of those as well, isn't it? Like in terms of like that element of, um, that element of just like, and I think it's one of those as well. Like if you end up feeling like you're not good enough and you're not doing enough, it's quite easy to. I think like what you mentioned, I think kind of is really powerful in terms of like, as opposed to trying to have your entire calendar from like right in the morning till right at the end filled out with tasks to do, how can you kind of make it, how can you condense it down just so you've got a couple big priorities that get things done and move it forward? Because realistically, like, there's only a couple big things that if you do well and you do right, it will probably move everything else forward. And if you find these, as opposed to trying to like just be busy for the sake of trying to match like Elon Musk's like schedule or whatever.
You just reminded me, there's a famous saying that says, I can't remember who said this, but it's more important to be working on the right thing, right, than everything, right? And it comes down to the to-do list. And usually for me, I just focus on the top three, which is making content, lead generation, and number three, client fulfillment. So making sure they're getting results, they're responded to, they feel like they're taken care of. Once you break it down to those three things and making sure you do that, you're good to go.
Perfect. So just on that, just a quick idea that came into mind on that. Then, like, I suppose maybe just a little bit in terms of the experience, I suppose, or the structure and journey you'd like to people to be going on. So, like, you know, people listening, like what's the kind of thought, like what's the kind of experience, what's the thought process behind, you know, someone comes to your page, you know, like someone comes to your page, how do you want to take them from there to a paying client? What's the kind of journey you like to take people on? And then I suppose
that's a good one. So with the sales funnel or the client help funnel, I like to call it, usually I make sure the content is relatable. So let's say Aisha, for example, she likes going low carb, she likes going keto, but ends up putting on the weight, right? Let's say I post a reel about carbs don't matter for fat loss, or what's the difference between brown rice and white rice, right? If a person engages with that, right, it means they've gotten value from it, they've found some sort of knowledge from it, they've benefited from it. And usually once they engage with that, they like it or they comment it, usually the ones that comment on it find it, watch it for a couple of seconds, and those are the people I tend to engage with, just because they're showing support and they probably need help, right? And just shoot them a quick DM. So like, hey Aisha, thanks for making commenting on my most recent post. I always mention something funny. What's your favorite curry? What's your favorite South Asian dish? And usually just come back with a funny response. Yeah, and plus I'm curious. Like, people say some weird things like that. And some curries I haven't even heard of, which is mad. I thought I knew every single dish out there. It's like, apparently I don't.
yeah. Like I'm still trying to get better myself.
You know, one thing about the DMs, right? There's people that have come up to me in Tesco, Muscleworks, Pure Gym, and said, "Oh, I had a conversation with you." Really? I don't remember. And then it hits me if there's Platinum. Yeah, they come up to you and it's like, "Oh, hey, I spoke to you the other day." I don't know their name. And it's funny, and it's thanks to you, bro. Do you imagine literally going to Tesco and someone's coming up to you and thinking, "Oh, we just spoke 20 minutes ago." I think the Platinum was on.
Me continuing to like follow up while you're speaking to her.
Yeah, that'd be well funny. I was like, what? I thought you were talking to you. How did you send a message? Oh man, but that's just because the power of having someone else to help you out. A VA, a good, reliable VA service. They follow up, they engage with the people, and they book calls, right? And as a result, they're helping you, they're helping me, they're helping the client.
Yeah, no, it makes the entire process like a lot easier, doesn't it? In terms of having that. How a quick one actually, just like a bit of an observation. It seems like on your stuff, and I think the approach seems to be a little bit more laid back in terms of the calls and the structure, which I think for your audience seems to work really well in terms of, you know, like if someone isn't ready for a call, or if someone's just showing quite a bit of resistance towards it, it seems like the way you've set things up now is just much easier to move people along to, you know, here's my calorie calculator, here's my, you know, meal plan, and then it's just so much easier to continue giving that value and then moving them along and in the future in terms of touching base, seeing how it helps. And it seems like that process for you is just so powerful. What are your thoughts on this? Like, like,
Yeah.
how do you know when to not offer a call and like not necessarily put people off in the future? Like if they have a conversation, I think sometimes with with a coach, and it just seems like from the get-go the
Dies
whole
down.
dynamic is like, book this call or go away.
Yeah.
It doesn't, they're probably never gonna like book a call with you. Or
Because with an online coach, you gotta remember you're a brand, right? You're a person, and you're a human being. Like someone you're talking to might have problems at work. They might be having a hard time at home. They might not be ready to have a call or feel like weight loss is the priority right now. But it might be in 3 months' time. It might be, and you don't want to be let go of that. You can help them. Right? Come from a standpoint you can help them. You can still help them, but now isn't the perfect time. So, like you said, planning. And one thing I like about your service, you follow up with that, in the sense that if even if they're not ready to book a call, if they're not engaging properly, just say, look, now might not be a great time, but I want to offer you something to see some sort of results. In the meantime, here's a free Desi meal guide, a South Asian calorie calculator, something for free. So I want to give them value, and I want them to come to the brand. And you know what? Like he's doing good. He's giving me something. Like, wouldn't you be more likely to buy from someone if they gave you something for free? Like, it's heartwarming because they want to see you win, and I truly want to see all my clients win, all my followers win, because it's a good feeling giving, man. And once you give something, you think to yourself, like, I feel good, man.
yeah, and you can never kind of like, you can never give like, you know, you can like, because someone else wins doesn't mean they're not going to work with you in the future. It's like, that's a limited mindset. If you just think because they're winning they're not going to need me, like it doesn't, you know, everyone can win like together. So I think
Yeah.
that's quite
What
powerful.
goes around comes around, like they say, innit?
I think I think it's just, there's so much of that though in coaching in terms of conversations. I think it like, if you, my observation is like, if you go into a conversation with someone like right away with the idea that, you know, this is a new follower, like I need to book them in, like my entire goal is to book them into a call. You're not really like paying attention to them. You're not really like
Yeah,
taking them as an individual, like getting to know them. They can, they can sense that like a mile away, I think. And then it just
yeah.
like it, that's the whole like DM script side of things. There's
And
always,
it
isn't it?
can ruin like a lead. It really can ruin it. Because those people that tend to do that, obviously money focused, but there might be another agenda. Like, look, I've got bills to pay. I've got these bills coming out. I need to make 5K this month, whatever it takes. And either it could be they come from a sales background or they got literally a lot of debt to pay. I don't think it's a good like business tactic. I really don't. Like, you shouldn't be pushing people if they're not ready. And it just goes to show a lot with the coach. Like, the way they do anything is the way they do everything. And do I really want to be hiring a coach that is doing that? Right? Pushing weight loss, pushing something that might not feel natural, etc. Rather do something that you enjoy and just see people win. If you want to see people win, they're gonna help you win. What goes around comes around. Um yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's where it becomes easier to run the coaching side of things when you get into it? I think that's something maybe you've done really well. Is like the coaching side of things. You didn't jump in and like
Oh yeah.
put a bunch of expenses. Like you didn't put like a bunch of pressure on making a coaching work, and because you didn't do that, you didn't put the pressure on the prospects and leads in terms of like, you know, I need to pay my car insurance. Like, if you don't sign up, I haven't got car insurance. So like that kind of stuff I think can make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Maybe would you say there's an element of that, maybe
Yeah.
just kind of like
Because
with coaching?
the running the
Yeah.
online business, the costs are quite low anyway. Slightly, you haven't got really overheads, office, you can work from home. Um, but that's one thing I'm grateful for with my accountancy job. The fact that the pressure wasn't there. Like, all right, if it doesn't work out, I'll just go back to my job, right? Um, but it was a funny one. Like, I did want to leave my job. I did want to leave my job. It was like 50-50. And once Asian Body Wash took off, my clients were getting results. And actually, I haven't shared the story with anyone, but I put in my notice for my accountancy job, JISC, right? In June 2021, right? 30 days notice, gave them a notice. 7 days before, I remember I accidentally used the work laptop and I was running the ABC Summer Blitz, right? Because everyone's getting ready for Asian summer wedding. It's like everyone wants to get ready and ripped for the summer, right? So I was running a group program at the time. I was on Canva, making the graphics, etc. Now think of the last 7 days of my 30 days notice. It must have saw me. And rather than leaving my job, I got a call saying, Tanbir, man, are you free for a call on Teams? Oh, yeah, whatever. Thought it's just a catch up. They just need me to do a few things or train someone. Next thing you know, Tanbir, so I know you're leaving in 7 days, but we're gonna have to terminate you early. And I was like, what? I was absolutely shocked. And it probably was a small mistake on my half, but she goes to me, I'll tell you why we're terminating your contract. Like, nope, I know why already. 30 minutes ago, I was on Canva doing this. Although it was on my lunch break, I don't think I was doing anything wrong, but should have known better and got fired. But it was a bittersweet moment because even though I handed my notice, it was like I was working towards leaving this for something bigger. At the same time, I lost my job, but it happens.
It took that 50-50 away from you in a way.
Yeah, so 50-50, like now it's like we're all in, and that's when game on. That's when things literally skyrocketed. Because like, you know what, nothing to hold you back now. So much time back. Let's get some client results. Let's change some lives, man. And I think that year, that's when I got most of my client results, and I've never been happier because I used to struggle with like feeling down, like finding purpose in life. But that gave me purpose, bro. That gave me purpose. I loved it.
Yeah, I can imagine it like as well. It doing that. Like I think it's just like, yeah, I think it's like, I suppose maybe. Yeah, so I suppose, how did you kind of find
I haven't shared that story with many people. I can't believe I'm sharing this. But yeah, that happened, man. But hopefully someone will resonate with that story. But it just goes to show, once you're in a vulnerable position, right, and you trust yourself and you have a vision, go for it. All guns blazing, literally. Because what's the worst that can happen? Worst that can happen, I'll just go back to accountancy. I still got my degree, right? But I just don't want to think like that. I think to myself, you know what? You want to have purpose in life. You want to do something that's like, if you're on this earth, me and you, we're both on this earth for a reason, right? And that's to serve people. I don't feel like I'm gonna serve people with an accountancy job, a corporate job that's very like layered with all these layers. I feel like my purpose is like serve people, like serve Asian people, stop that trait where we're all getting diabetes, cholesterol. I want to remove that trait. Go against the status quo, right? And my purpose is literally help them drop body fat, get better health, etc., and not have to worry about diabetes. Not following in the footpath of our parents or the South Asian community. I think it's a big thing, bro, and it just gives me some meaning, and I feel very excited when I wake up in the morning. And I'm like, let's get some results, man. Let's put some banging content out there. Let's level up the service. Let's take it worldwide. It's nice.
Yeah, I think with your content, it seems like the whole way you've done it is just, you've made it very much like very vision, and that kind of big vision and that kind of big reason and that big why behind the stuff you mentioned. That's kind of, and like behind all the content in a way. You talk about all of these stuff in your content. All of this stuff is like layered deeper into your content. I just think I think it's quite powerful. Maybe like, to me, it feels like the people following the page is like, okay, I'm onto this page for something bigger than just fat loss, bigger than just weight loss. This is like a journey with like similar people. Even if it's just like a follow on a page, it just seems like there's that big resonating thing, because there's so much of your bigger why and your bigger reason behind your content. It must be something that, I don't know if you do it all the time or not.
I get what you're saying. Like, when I was working the 9-to-5 job, I didn't know my reason why. Like, why am I doing this? What is it benefiting? What is it doing? It was very mundane. And as I think Simon Sinek, I think his name is, he says, start with your why. Right? If you can start with your why, you can jump out of bed in the morning, you can go that extra mile, you can work those long weekends, those extra hours, like, because you know why. Why are we doing this? The brain just wants to know why. And if it's worth it, yeah, 100%. I'll go that extra mile. No.
Do you think an online coach needs to do that before they get into, like, before, if they're feeling like demotivated or frustrated, or do you think even before they even consider starting, they just need to sit down and pen to paper, why, big why, circle it, like why am I doing this? What am I trying to get out of this? Do you think that's
Because the problem with most people, what's it called? They procrastinate. If they gotta like do like some sort of plan, reason why, they might not actually get to actually building a page.
okay?
So personally for me, like the gym photos, the selfie, just starting off something basic, just building some sort of small following, and then later on fine tuning the process. Right, fine tuning the process, and then deciding the reason why, your niche, who you want to target, who resonates with you the most, who do you still see as your best clients or your ideal client.
Yeah, and I suppose from there you can kind of like make it a little bit more specific, a little bit more
Yeah,
like specific, perfect things a little bit more.
for sure. What's that guy that he popped off like? Do it now. Just do it. Remember back in the
Yeah,
day? I can't remember what his name. I think it was Malcolm in the Middle. It's like some American guy, and he just went viral. Just saying,
yeah,
"Do it now, do it now."
yeah. I kept thinking it's like Jordan, maybe not.
Something like that. But
Yeah,
he was American, and he has like this curly hair. But that was like, even though it's simple, that's probably the best advice on an online coach. Like, do it now. Dabble your feet. See if it works. See if you like it. Because you got nothing to lose apart from helping people drop body fat,
yeah,
right? And it's an amazing feeling, because just coming from a coaching background, hating the process, I thought, you know what, I'm never gonna do this. I can't see this happening. And then realizing, you know what, like, Asians have a lot of issues, and I really just want to help them with that.
do you feel like there's many people do you feel there's many like people within a similar niche to you? Like, do you feel there's much competition within that? Because it seems like the marketing element of it, I feel like you've done really well in terms of just being the one person that does this very one thing very, very, very well, and there's no one else
Yeah,
that they can
I'll
really.
be honest though about something. There's a lot more competition in this niche, like the Asian, South Asian niche. There's a few big ones that I know that have blocked me. I don't
I
know
don't.
why. I don't know why. You might know. Yeah, they blocked me, man, and I thought, you know what? Like, for me, the way I see it, there's 7 billion people on this planet. There's plenty of clients to go around, man. And we can't be looking at a mindset where it's like a negative or a, what's that saying? Like, scared money makes no money. And there's 7 billion people on the planet. All we need to do is help 1% of that, if that. 1% is still a big, big,
Be a
big
millionaire. Yeah.
number. I think, like, why are you blocking people, man? We need more South Asian coaches, man. We need more South Asian coaches, because our people need help, right? And need people they can relate to. And I always tell myself, like, look, there's probably like 5 Asian guys out there, 5 Asian girls that really need the help, and they're just looking for content like mine. If I don't get to them first, Slimming World is going to get to them first. A shit coach is going to get to them first. That does scare me and keep me up at night. It really does. Um, like recently, I've noticed that my dad, my sister were having some health problems. I think as coaches, we don't realize, like, look, we might be PTs, we might be health professionals, but even our own family members find it hard to take our advice, and it does keep me up at night. Like the fact that even though I'm getting my clients' results, I can see my family's health, like my mum, my dad, my sister, their health deteriorating. But I'll just start off basic. I've been taking to the gym recently, and that's been making me happy. And as downtime for a coach, online coach, I'll say, you know what? Make sure your household is happy, because that's where you're spending most of your time. You're spending most of your time with your family. Make them happy first, because if you make them happy, you'll be happy. You'll be able to make your clients happy, and your business will flourish. And I'll be honest, bro. Since working with you, it's made me think a lot, because you reflect a lot on the business, and you're always looking to improve. And it's kind of rubbed off on me, in the sense that, look, like, I'm doing this, but is it actually working in my life? Right, I've actually been sitting down journaling that, just because of the back of the reviews that you do. And I've been looking like, you know what, I'm maybe stressed because my household is stressed. Let's see why mum and dad is stressed, why my sister's stressed. Maybe that might have a better impact on me. And just them, they weren't training, they weren't TikTok, they weren't Instagram all the time, they weren't looking after their health. So I thought, let's help them out. Let's help out my household. Because family mean a lot, and with Asian people, family is like a big, big thing. a massive thing. I'm sure
Yeah.
you being Bulgarian, like
Yeah.
you
It's
could
similar.
cultural families are like a tight unit. Tight unit. It's even I think your Bulgarian weddings are quite big as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very like, because we're kind of like on the border with Turkey. I think there's like elements.
Yes, yeah, Cyprus.
Yeah, Turkey, Romania are quite like loud. Like I think loud out there. So it's similar to that. Um, but yeah, it's funny you say that, and I think it's funny you say that from an environment standpoint, and I think um for me, I just thought like add this in there, but like I think sometimes it's like it's quite easy to I don't talk about this side of it for me that much, but like
Go on.
it's quite easy for me to um like money wise, I want to kind of put as much like as much of it as possible in the business and just see kind of how I can like fix things and do things better, because I think that's what I get enjoyment out of doing anyways. Like it's more of like I'd spend
Yeah.
that money anyway. Like I'd rather spend that there than anywhere else. So and then like I find myself sometimes like I've traveled like so I've taken like a long
Oh yeah,
story, but like I've traveled a lot like a lot this last year, and well in 2022 now, traveled a lot, and I've just found myself being away sometimes from like a stressful situation at home or with family members. For me, kind of gets me like very, very, but a lot more productive. And for me, it's much easier to take myself away than try and stress myself more. And I think that's where like I love that side of it for you. Like you
yeah,
put the effort and time a lot more into trying to fix the situation. For me, I can kind of just remove myself
yeah.
for a couple of months, and then
I'll be honest. I used to see my household as a very hostile environment. Very hostile. I don't think I told anyone this, but I had a lot of breakdowns during 2022 in my Asian household, and that was just mainly me ignoring the fact that my family needed help. And I thought, you know what, like if I help them, right, and if I see my dad benefit, my mum benefit, etc., like it's gonna make me happy, right? And we forget like these people we spend our most time with, like we gotta help them, man. We gotta help our unit first. It's mad. But nowadays, I just see my household as a palace now. Like I think coaches need to change their mindset. The way you see anything, like I think there was a famous meme. There was these two people on a bus. One side was like
yeah.
a dark jungle, very malevolent, and the other person was smiling. He was looking at a beach. He was looking at this. But it's the same bus. It's going on the same journey, going through the same trees. Just the way you look at things, the way you behave around things, can change everything up here. How you see it.
Yeah, on that though, like, do you think as well? Like, I think this is something that I found quite hard, and I think with coaches as well, it's like this is just from my experience. It's quite easy to go on Instagram, see like other coaches, and just look at them like two ways. You can look at them as competition, or you can look at them as a way to, as a community, as a way to bounce ideas. And I think the
Yeah,
second is just so much more powerful. Like if you can look at people around you as a community that you can bounce ideas and grow together, it all
yeah,
kind of works and flows a little bit better than.
yeah. That's the reason I rented that office in WeWork, Canary Wharf. A lot of like-minded people, and I've made money just off their ideas, right? But money-wise, in terms of like ideas I can implement in my coaching, get better results for clients. That's that's made me happy, man. But one interesting fact on what you just said, touching on that, like people hate only from down. So anyone that's above you, like they want to see you win, man. That's the reason part of collective coaching has been quite beneficial. Like they just want to see you win. But anyone below you, like someone that's starting out, someone that's like wants to get into coaching but has no like profile picture, nothing. They're the ones who tend to like secretly hate, bro. I've noticed that. Like you don't get hate from above, you only get it from down. And it's quite scary, bro. Especially if you got like a lot of like followers that are no profile picture, etc. Like other coaches that I don't see myself above anyone. It's just like anytime I receive hate, it's always from down below. It's,
Yeah. Do you know what though? Like I've always found this really like interesting. Like what, touching on that point a little bit. Like when I used to work in the gym and stuff. Like there used to be like.
yeah,
Well, I was like, I would have been 17, 18 working in the gym, so like I kind of had friends in that bracket. But those kind of people that are like, going on Instagram and just talking like talking like bad about someone else, like look at this guy's form, or look at this, like, you know, look at this guy's form on Instagram, this guy's giving bad advice on Instagram. Fair enough, but as opposed to doing that, why not just create a bit of content that's better, and
Yeah,
like do it better, as opposed to just talking like
yeah. It's easier to hate than actually give out value. It's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose that makes it like a lot easier. Just put us, like, you know, as opposed to trying to like um worry too much about what other people are doing. Like, you can see it and stuff, but and again, it's like the same with content as well. You can get caught up in like trying to beat people and trying to call people out. And I think there's people that can make a lot of money and a lot of attention from that. Like, you know, James Smith, for example.
Mm.
For typical online coaches, if they just get into battles all the time with like people near them and just call them out and stuff, it's probably quite toxic for someone following that, isn't it? Like, just always seeing,
Hates.
yeah,
I'm thinking that, oh, he's getting a lot of attraction for it. He's getting 10K, 100K views. Like, surely this
yeah,
must work. Let's pop it on mine. But your niche might not be receptive to it, especially if they're like older people, let's say if in their 50s, or someone that might be going through menopause, etc. They might not be receptive to the hate. If anything, they're like, ooh, don't like
yeah,
that. I mean, because personally for me, any coaches that complain, any coaches that are very negative, I run a mile, man. I try to stay away from them because I don't want it to like influence me, etc. One thing I did realize is the 5 people you hang around with the most. Although I hated that quote, man. You're the sum of 5 people that you hang around with the most. I hated that quote, but there is some truth to it. It doesn't have to be all the time. Don't get me wrong, but it is majority of the time. One might influence you. One might influence you, and one I think famous quote from Andrew Tate is that I was in like a villa with like 5 other boys, and these lot used to do push-ups every single day. Like all 4 of them doing push-ups, and I'm the one just sitting there having like a bagel. I'm like, oh, come on, let's do some push-ups. He says, how do you like that? We're making money. If they're making money every single day, like, oh, can't they? And you want to be in a relaxed state. You don't want to be the odd one out. As humans, we want to be part of the tribe. We want to feel involved. We don't want to be left out. That's the one thing that we want to avoid.
yeah. This has been massive for me, just like being around, you know, seeing how you do things and how you operate, and like your level of like getting things done is just, it's so powerful. But for me, like, just to touch on that as well, it's like it almost like seeing, you know, almost seeing you and seeing other coaches do well. It's like it like removes like the glass ceiling I put myself in. Like, you know, that's only so much I can do. I'm not like, I'm not special, right? You can kind of go through that process, but if you see other people and you're always around other people that, you know, aren't doing anything massively different, they're just consistent, they're just like doing it
Yeah,
time and time again, you're like, okay, if they can do it, then why can't I do it? I think that was the biggest for me, maybe.
yeah. Sky is the limit. Sky is the limit. Yeah, I'd say just surrounding yourself with people, other coaches that you know are doing well. Like, talk to them, ask them like what's going well, what can I improve on, etc. Don't be scared to ask for feedback. Just like going up to a big guy in the gym, right? He doesn't care like if you're small or not, right? He just want to see you win. He might want to say like just go slower on the bench press, improve the eccentric, etc. He might give out good advice. It's always hate always comes down below. From the top, it never comes down, right? Like if you, let's say you're a built bodybuilder, right? Let's say you obviously you have experience in the gym. If a new person that's never been to the gym comes to you for advice, you won't hate on him. You'd actually give him solid advice.
Yeah.
You'd actually want to see him like, you know what? Bro, come do a set with me. Let's get 10 reps on this, man. You can do it. You're gonna bump him up. You're gonna raise him up, and you just wanted to actually win.
Yeah, because I think it takes a lot, doesn't it? It takes a lot to go out and ask for help as well. It takes a lot to
Yeah,
say,
that
you
is
know,
true.
where am I at? Like, you know, I'm not where I need to be. Like, what can I do to be better? And I think that's kind of something that,
Question for you: do you feel like females are more likely to ask for help than men?
oh, I
What did you
think,
find?
yeah. Probably men personally. I think men, I don't know. How do you find it?
Interesting. Because
That's,
for fitness coaching, it tends to be the opposite. Like females
oh, yeah.
always ask for help, man, and I think they benefit the most from coaching, especially with the Asian niche. I think they're more receptive to like even like promotions, advertisements, etc. Like obviously females do the most online shopping, but at the same time they have the humility to come to someone and ask for help, rather than guys are very stubborn, etc. Like, I can do it myself. I'm gonna save this money. I got this.
Yeah, I suppose
Very
the example for me, like I think that came to mind was more. Yeah, I feel like maybe guys. I suppose it depends. I think younger guys don't really are open, like 25 under. I think are very hard to.
very true.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm just trying to think of maybe particular. I was thinking more like work style environments. Maybe I think guys might be more open to saying, you know,
I can do this myself.
yeah, or like yeah, and then I think females. Yeah,
I need a
yeah.
bit more time, etc. I mean, I'll be honest. Females probably get more out of online coaching, right? But out of in terms of demographic and like age gaps and gender rules, I just think predominantly the online coaching space, more female clients over male clients, right?
I think it's the same for.
Even PT.
Yeah, I think it's the same for even personal trainers. The one I find quite hard is like when I think the ones like you've done it like really well in terms of just having it around the Asian household and having that relatability. But the one I just think I find a little bit hard, like, you know, we've maybe even sometimes find it hard as like VA wise is like if it's like a young guy trying to market and talk to or
busy
like
mums.
busy mums, that kind of stuff. I think
Yeah,
sometimes the relatability aspects
yeah.
is where it gets lost, and I suppose that's where I suppose that's where maybe speaking to guys.
We'll just basically.
Yeah. I was
Go
gonna
on.
say like I suppose that's where speaking to guys and having that relatability element of it just makes life a lot easier. I don't know how you found it, but I just think if there's not relatability within your work or within your content, but I suppose that's a different
Yeah.
thing.
I try not to think of it like that.
I think yours, yeah,
Yeah, because as long as your content is engaging and it's hitting like home, like let's say their struggles, like they can't lose weight with rice, basmati rice, but you're showing them it can be done. You're showing them social proof. You're showing them someone else. Even though they might not relate to you, you might have a client that you describe, 28, single, working full time, stressed out of their life. Look, wait, that's me. And I've had clients on Zoom calls saying, "Oh, I relate so much to your story, Tanbir. I do remember that. I relate so much to your story. It's now you're speaking to me because literally you're describing the same character, the same person, the same struggles. And if you can do a good job through that, I think that's an alternative way you can still bring in the client. Because we're business people, we're entrepreneurs, we find solutions. And I feel like if I don't help them, Slimming World is going to get to them and just do a bad job, man. Just leave scars and leave trauma in them. I can't have that. Because my sisters tried it, a few of my cousins have, and I just know how bad it is. Slimming World, if you listen,
yeah,
it's just, there's bad diets out there. Our job as coaches is finding them a sustainable way, something that's tailored to them. 'Cause that's what online coaching is about. That's what one-to-one coaching is about. Sustainable methods and just them enjoying the process. If they enjoy it, they're going to repeat it. It's like a Netflix show.
yeah, yeah. I think for sure, and I think that's where like maybe just having that element of like I think they almost even know just knowing and being able to relate to the other person just makes it so much easier, doesn't it? In the long run. With Slimming World, I think that's just a quick one. I think now for me and just looking at that side of it, one thing that I do think Slimming World and a lesson from them, and I just wanted to see kind of how you find it. But I think one thing they do incredibly well with is just creating that kind of like almost family feel, that cult, community, like cult, like like you put it like way better. But I think it almost like if you do it where it's like it's us against the world, the people inside a little like bubble have like a really strong relation, well, you know, have stronger relationships. I suppose if you can do it without the misinformation, and if you can have it in a place where the people genuinely have their back and their vision and mission is much more powerful, you build for me like a really good team. But on your side, because
Slimming World are quite smart with how they do it, right? Because they're in a group, they're in like a cult following. Usually, when you're in a cult following, like religion, you adopt the same beliefs that they have. So, chocolate is a sin, 12 sins, etc. This is a sin, this is a sin. And you don't want to have like a different belief or be like the white goat in like a
Yeah.
in the actual group. You want to adopt the same beliefs, and that cult following is very strong and it's very intelligent what they do. And I think it's hard once you're in that group, once you're in that clique. It's hard to come out of it, right? Especially if you're tied in for like a couple of months, and you literally like you believe in them. You made friends with these people. It's hard. It's hard, bro. Just thinking about it gets very deep with Slimming World.
Yeah, the stuff like again, probably not going to too much, but I suppose certain things like, so there's a lot of affiliation I feel going on, going on there. So yeah, I suppose, but how have they like, I suppose with, I suppose with Slimming World, their biggest selling point, like to me, it just seems like is they're very specific in terms of like, you know, they're just trying to work, I suppose, mostly females, like mostly weight loss, and then just trying to simplify the process. I think they're very kind of clever in terms of just not trying to do like everything. I suppose that's why maybe they get so many people on board. They just buy them into keep
Exactly.
it simple. Like we'll make dieting simple. You can eat whatever you want, like quote unquote,
Yeah.
eat whatever you want.
There's curry on
Yeah,
it. I know they do give out that. And I think that's a something online coaches can take out their rule book. They know their market really, really well. They know who signs on. They know who they're targeting. They know who they wanna bring on their program. They know very well. And once you know your target market inside out, your client avatar inside out, it makes it much easier in terms of promotion, um, advertising it, and even people keeping people on it. Because you know their struggles. You just basically post content about it constantly. If people find like the content you're making, they're engaging with it, they resonate with it, like sure they're gonna stay because you're talking about their struggles every single week, every single day. Like this guy understands me more than I know myself.
yeah,
That's what they're gonna say. Like if you can do that, if coaches and like post content and talk about their ideal client more than they know themselves, I think that would
powerful.
be big, bro. Like, what's your struggle like with weight loss, like stress eating, binge eating, etc. If you can talk about that 7 days a week, 3 days a week, then yeah, I think the
Sweet.
content will bang, and you get the feedback from it, like the comments, the likes.
Yeah, it also seems like they're just very good at just like not like blocking everyone else out. They're not afraid to necessarily sound stupid to
Yeah,
someone that's
yeah,
like a
yeah. It's
doctor.
true. It's true.
So I think
Yeah,
it
I
like
think we
yeah,
can take that as
yeah,
coaches on board. I reckon we
yeah,
really do, literally.
yeah, yeah.
Taking a book out of Slimming World, their
Just,
marketing tactics.
just literally talk to your people, ignore everyone else. Like doctors, they're not talking to like doctors or you know nutritionists or people like that. They're just talking to
Exactly. The one thing they do really well, I don't understand it how, but they get a lot of hate. Of course, on me, you, every coach out there, but they don't respond to it. They don't waste their
yeah.
time. They just get on with their day.
I think if I do you reckon if they respond to the hate though, do you reckon if they just respond to it, they will just make it becomes a slippery slope to then how do you like stop? Like, you know, how do you you just you just open the door for more hate if you respond. I don't know if that's because they see, you know, they
Yeah,
respond to one person, they get exposure. If they don't respond, like they don't get their Slimming World's exposure.
yeah, because it
But
will open another door of like hate, more hate coming through the door. Especially with TikTok, like you know
yeah,
how they respond to videos. That's just I can imagine that just literally spiraling out of control, and they just becoming a thing where it start going to your ideal client and think, you know what, people start questioning it. Do you really want that?
yeah. That's where I have like that's where like I find the whole like React thing, you know, like the news thing. Like I know there's people like that do it pretty much full time, like the reaction style things, and that's where like I find it really like fascinating in terms of, you know, that kind of probably use that to get a kind of attention and get the eyes on a page from
Yeah.
other pages, and it's like trying to channel
I'm
it
yet to
into
do that, if I'm honest
yeah
with you. I'm yet to do that. It's something on my to do list, and it just reminded me. But yeah, I think Slinger World, the way they do their things, we can take a rule out of their book. Literally, I think it's a very good way they go about business. They cut everyone out, but they know their niche. They know their niche very well. Um, Another thing I like to say is like even probably drug dealers, the narcos, they understand their their
Yeah.
market really well. They understand their product. They know their marketing strategy. They know how to make the product really well. They know their people, etc. They're probably better business people than actual professionals, professors in university. To be honest, but yeah,
Yeah, this is where like I don't know. This is where like I think the whole business thing is like I think business is just so much about just getting in there and just test. Well, you know, my idea of business is just going in there and just testing it, and it's more like street quote unquote street logic than like anything
yeah,
else. Like testing and just seeing what works. Where if you spend too long, no, I think this is what you mentioned here for like service based stuff. If you spend too long trying to create a perfect business plan, it's just you're probably gonna either get left behind or you're just gonna overthink
yeah.
it and not
Similar
get.
to a workout plan.
Yeah,
I know guys that make workout plans. This is what I'm gonna do Tanbir for week one. This is how I'm gonna train week two. This is my calories for week three. But we haven't even started yet. Like, why are you planning week six when we're not even week one yet? Like, it doesn't make any sense, man. I call it active procrastination,
yeah,
right? And I think sometimes, like, look, leave it to the coach. Let us take that stress. You just go worry about going to the gym. You worry about eating good, right? And we'll do the rest.
yeah.
And I
Just
think it's very underrated what online coach could do. Really good.
get going and then figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure out for you along the way. We'll make changes. If you got a party, Asian wedding coming up, we'll take care of it. We'll plan that in. We'll make the best of the situation.
Yeah.
Because even you, like, giving the responsibility to someone else, like, it's very powerful. It's very powerful, online coaching.
Yeah, I think it makes such a difference in terms of doesn't it in terms of having that kind of taken care of. So like business wise and like business plans and business structures and stuff um is there stuff like that you do now? Is there stuff that you'd recommend people like coaches to look at? Like I know you mentioned auditing. Was it your year?
Revenue targets, what's gone well, what can we improve on? And usually I just do an audio on my time. So I look at what I'm spending my time on currently and what's actually giving back. Like how many DMs, or how much time I spent on DMs, what's giving back, what's converted well. How much time have I spent on content, what's doing well. Average watch time of my content, what's doing well, what can I repost. Just getting feedback. So I don't think a lot of people sit down and look at what's going well.
Yeah.
I really don't. I know it sounds crazy, but you could even do it with your training plan. Like, what movements do you feel like is giving the most benefit, etc.
Yeah, and then the ones that you
Yeah,
maybe don't connect with as well, like
yeah,
see how you can like refine them a little
yeah.
bit.
Because you can even look through exercises. What's one you're progressing on really good, but what's one that's just taking a hell longer time and taking a lot of energy? That might be squats, that might be deadlifts. Let's take it out.
Yeah.
Just like that. Looking at a workout, bro, what's going well, what's good, what's not.
And it's like that's the thing as well. It's never a final thing. I think that's like the thing as well. Like it's okay to just test things a little bit. Like test them for a week, for 2 weeks. I'll try a different bit of content out. I'll try I think that's something that you're very like logical with it. Like it's not an emotional decision. I'm gonna post this content because I enjoy it. It's like I enjoy making the content, but it's also like what's the kind of stuff that's doing well for me.
And here's a little hack for any online coaches watching, right? Something that I've noticed works really well is post your content on TikTok first. Usually the stuff that does well on TikTok does well on Instagram as well. And the reason for that is because on TikTok, when you post content, it doesn't get shown to your audience. It actually gets shown to other people that don't even follow you. That's the reason when you scroll through the explore page on TikTok, you're just seeing content from other people you don't even follow.
Yeah,
Right, and literally, like, you can get more likes on it, you can get more reach to it,
exposures.
etc.
Yeah,
More exposure, like you said. You think, all right, it gets more exposure on TikTok, gets more likes, gives me better feedback. Let's post the best ones on Instagram. Usually those ones do
yeah.
well. I've noticed.
Do you post a lot more on TikTok then?
Yeah, because the good thing is TikTok doesn't penalize you for posting more.
Okay.
Instagram technically does. Like, if you post more than twice a day, that content might not get shown, like all of it.
Yeah.
To your audience, but TikTok, they love it. They reward you for it, I've noticed. Some days even posting 3 or 5 times a day on TikTok. Doesn't even matter about peak time.
How do you have enough time in your day to post 5 days, like five times a
Yeah,
day on?
I know it sounds hard, but even just basic batch creating 2 to 3 days before, right? Because one thing you said was like testing things. Don't be scared to test. Write down 5 problems that your niche has. Make 5 content ideas about it, or even 5 things that you can post for the next 7 to 14 days on the same topic, right?
Okay.
And it's a good way to test like what does well, what doesn't. Because the more you do, the more feedback you get. Right? The more you do, the faster you get feedback.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So I suppose would you? I'm just trying to like piece it back. Is it like your? I suppose from a content creation standpoint, is literally here's the 5 to 10 ideas that people are struggling with, and is it like you just film loads of content in one go for the entire week? Is that kind of how you do it? And then I imagine it's a lot easier to then have like 50 videos that you just post 5 times across
There was
the
once
day.
upon a time I did that before my holiday in Turkey. I thought I'm not gonna get the time to post, so let's make 7 days, 10 days worth of content, and I really enjoyed it, man. The funny thing is, if you hate creating content, try just spitting out like 1 to 2 hours. Just focus on that. All right,
Yeah.
focus on that, because let's say for a washing machine, you won't put like a pair of trousers on there by itself. You'd put a whole batch in there, right? And it does the whole cycle. Because once you focus on one thing, you become more productive, and at the same time, you can actually get more done,
Yeah.
right?
Would
'Cause-
yeah. And is it like the processes in terms of how you do it? It's like one day of or the 30 minutes beforehand of just
yeah,
planning content.
yeah,
The
yeah.
next bit after that, it's
Usually, I
like
have like a content day where I
content.
don't do anything else, and it feels very nice in the sense that you just get to focus on one thing, and very therapeutic, because your mind's not going, "Oh, I'll go do this, I'll go do that." You're in the moment, you get in the flow state. It feels nice when you're in the flow state. It's like when you're having a good work and you like listen to a good beat, you're in the flow, you're not checking your messages, you're not checking your phone, like, let's kill that PR, let's kill that PR.
Yeah. It does look like you're when you are doing your content. It does look like you are really enjoying it. I think it comes across like it looks like you've got like a actual like passion behind doing it, as opposed to just
Yeah, you gotta enjoy what you do, bro. It's really important. It's really important, because you're doing this. What some of us are probably working 7 days a week as online coaches, right? And you gotta remember, you're doing this 7 days a week. You gotta at least enjoy it at some point, because you gotta do it next week and the week after and the week after again. And like for a huge part of my life, I was really unhappy. Like there was part of my life where I was working my 9 to 5. I was really unhappy, and I thought to myself, like, I'm starting my own business, my own baby. Why am I gonna do the same thing with that? Right? It just doesn't make any sense. Although it sounds very cliche, you don't have to enjoy it to do it, but you have to actually have some sort of fulfillment. There has to be some sort of happiness it brings you. Otherwise, you're not gonna repeat it.
yeah. So actually, a quick question that came to mind from this, and I think this is something that I think could be a good bit of takeaway for coaches, is your stories and your story polls like get a lot of people voting. And it's I think over the months and over the last year, I think has got a lot of kind of definitely a lot of conversations, so potentially a lot of calls from that. How do you come up like with them? Because I speak to coaches that kind of go, well, I can't think of how can I do a poll every single day? How can I put question boxes? Like I don't have that much stuff to talk about. I don't like to document my entire life. I'm not like a celebrity. It's kind of the stuff I kind of sometimes hear from coaches. How do you structure your stories? Because there's always polls, there's always questions, and there's always people voting on them, like a lot of
Yeah,
people.
there always is. I'm not sure how all the clients you got. If it's me that actually does the calls too much, or does it above like what's actually like expected. But the one thing I'll say, if you're not doing polls, you're losing out big time, because the Instagram algorithm favors people that does polls. If you get more votes on your polls, the more your stories get shown to other people. So people will see your transformations, your clients' transformation stories. They see your content more. And if you're helping out Instagram, put it this way. Like if you're helping out Instagram, making people stay on that platform for longer, they're gonna push your content out to more people because you're helping them out. They love that stuff, and that's
Yeah.
the pure reason I do it. Is just because if I'm posting my content, it's going to shown to more people. Less likely they're going to see Slimming World, other rubbish coaches that do a bad job. I want my content to come out on the forefront and help people. I see it that way, really.
What the kind of because I think coaches get into the rabbit hole of like, I'll do it, but I'll just do it with, I'll just go, the poll would be, are you looking for coaching? And it's just like yes or no. How do you make it so it's like you've got ones that you can do every single day? Because I reckon like you'd always have like whatever happens, you can always rely on your stuff to always have like a good poll. Like that's not that people vote on. If it's like two directs, do you want coaching? No one's gonna vote on that.
I'd say you can warm up to it. This is one tactic I really like and it works. The this or that poll. So one where, let's say, you just warm them up. Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, right? Chicken curry or lamb curry. Basmati rice or biryani, right? It warms them up. They start clicking more. And then you can ask, body slim all my life or fat and chubby, right? Something funny. And then you can start asking, summer weight loss, stay the same, etc. Something where you just warm them up to it, right? Just like a workout, you do the warm up set, then they do the working set, and they're more likely to complete it.
It's like a would you rather?
Yeah, so
maybe. Okay.
Diet Coke, etc.
I see.
And then you warm it up to looking for help.
Okay.
Right?
And then would you say the last kind of 2 or 3 questions are like
The money making ones.
cool?
Money making.
How direct is the last one you do? Like how direct is the last
As
one?
direct as you like.
Okay.
Right. So looking to drop weight for Asian summer wedding. Yes, no, something like that. Or struggling to build muscle this winter. Yes, no. Simple as that. Because they definitely, I've noticed, they're more likely to vote on those last two if they voted all the way down. Trust me, people want to finish things. If they start something, they want to finish it.
Yeah. And it's like as well, like, but coaches I think can get too like in their head sometimes, or even me, like I can't message them if they voted Diet Coke, but you can absolutely find a way to message them just asking why they chose Diet Coke as opposed to Pepsi Max. Like, it's still a stupid conversation. It's still like a really simple conversation. It might sound stupid on the surface, but it's still a way in, and it's still like you getting to know the other person.
And believe me, you need that. You need that pull. It makes the conversation so much easier to start and so much easier to actually talk about coaching after. Really helps so much. But I'd say the sweet spot is around 7 pulls for that this or that type of method. And I'd say do that once a week, maybe every fortnight. But if you're not doing pulls, you're missing out. Because the reason I say that is people I've spoken to in person, they come up to you and say, Tanbir, your content, your stories are so engaging, man. I love it. So what do you mean by that? I don't even feel my content is engaging whatsoever. And I'm being truly honest. But they say that. That's the case. I say, okay, why is that? I say, you always ask for our opinion. It's like I always click on the yes or no box. The polls, right. You do them every day, man. I love it. I literally just go on there just for that. And people get addicted to your content. It's mad.
Because I reckon it shows you're listening to your audience like a lot more, and it's like I think people must feel like listened to on your page like which is
and it's just through a simple poll box. It's absolutely mad plumbing.
So what else do your stories do your stories have anything else on them, like what else would you have alongside the alongside the
something
post?
even like a day in the life, right? Just talking about my weight loss, my journey. A really good one is, especially for the relatability. Let's say you coach busy mums, but you're male, right? Or you might not have like the ideal physique of someone that your niche is. Simply just posting a transformation and then talking about how they got there. Step A, step B, step C, done, bosh. Giving out value. And then at the end, give a poll. Right, so if you want similar results to Taslima, just click yes or no, or just DM me the word Taslima, and I'll basically talk about your struggles and see if you're a good fit for my program. Yeah. Trust me, I've seen like minimum three people would reach out usually.
Cool.
That's a good one.
I think we're getting close to wrapping up now, so we'll finish here, guys. If you have any questions, anything like that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed today, man.
Yeah.
Just speaking about everything. It was really nice.
Yeah. I think it went like there's so many ways it went this conversation, like, you know, mindset, like money, value, and then like more specific stuff. So if you guys want to check out, you know, Tanbir, the Asian body coach, give him a follow. Probably do the full video on YouTube or
The link will be below somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll try and earn like YouTube and stuff. It should be quite nice because it's yeah,
and if you need a badass VA, Plamin is your man. Plamin and his team, honestly amazing. Been with him for 12 months almost, and I haven't been with any other VA longer than that ever.
Yeah, and we'll like it. Yeah, like honestly, very, very grateful. So yeah, really appreciate that. But we'll wrap up. Right. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Perfect. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, we've actually finished it this time. Like wrapped it up.
Oh yeah. Did you not get to last time?
I don't think so. I think it was just
Oh okay.
How do you feel like it? How did you find it?
That was my first podcast, bro. So well, I think it went really well.
Do you reckon I was like, I reckon maybe like at some points it was like very kind of like free flowing, I reckon.
Yeah.
So
There was a lot of conversation and catch up.
Yeah. But I don't know if you had it, but